Welcome to the heart and soul of Outdoors Radio. It's the Hooking Up and Tracking Down Show. In our 11th season, we continue to share facts and give advice on the great outdoors, where we never let the lack of facts come between us and a good story. Guys who are dedicated to helping you become a better outdoorsman. Your host, Gary McCoy, who's no stranger to the radio world or the outdoors, with a CMA to his credit for best personality. A well-accomplished outdoorsman who loves the thrill of taking a big buck or putting a bass in the live well. Mike Eccles, born and raised in Louisiana, who's fished and hunted his entire life and continues to chase ducks in the backwaters and pull bass off cypress trees. And the Boss Tournament Trail Director who runs the best team circuit in Louisiana. Steve Graff, raised in the woods and waterways of East Texas, a former Northwestern State two-sport athlete and tournament angler who continues to strive for big bass and winning stringers. And last but not least, Jay Watley, the brains and producer of the show who pushes all the right buttons. A man with unmatched talent who excels in making these guys look good and this show sound great. Now let's jump off the front deck and make the first cast with the boys who know it all, Gary, Steve, Mike, and Jay.
We are hooking up and tracking down 11:30 The Tiger, Gary McCoy, along with the Ranger Iowa Pro staffer. He is Steve Graff.
Yo, that's me.
The Mud Hen Mike Eccles in the house. And Jay Bird's there.
Aloha, boys.
Hey, he's got his hat on backwards today. You don't always wear it backwards, do you?
No.
No.
He must be expecting this show to go really fast.
Yeah, that's it.
But you know what? You're not doing it like gangsta style.
Yeah, not yet.
Yeah.
That'll be
would you do that?
Yeah, maybe second hour.
Oh, speaking of second hour, our boy Graff has got to leave because of a huge special announcement.
Yep.
Can we say anything?
Yeah.
Okay.
We can go and, it's pretty well known.
He caught 5 fish?
No, I didn't, actually. Had 3 this week.
Graff's daughter, Meredith, is obviously a basketball star. If you followed her, playing in Natchitoches in her collegiate days, she has gone on to coaching, was an assistant coach at one school, and has since moved over to Ruston.
Yep.
Today.
Yep.
About 2 o'clock this afternoon, big announcement from the Ruston Bearcats.
Yep, they're going to announce her make it official today as the new head coach for the Lady Bearcat program.
Is that awesome or what?
Yeah, I'm excited for her. She's excited. She's going to do a great job.
Yeah.
She's going to do a great job.
Are you going to be the assistant?
No, I am the assistant. I'm just kind of behind the scenes guy.
Now,
I've always got an opinion on
You're financing the coach.
Yeah, ask me.
Now, I got a question about that because you played baseball all the way through college and into the minor leagues, and football you played all the way through college.
Yeah.
Basketball, can you help her out any?
Yeah. I could play basketball. I never played basketball because it overlapped baseball when I was in high school.
Yeah.
But I could have played if I'd wanted to play. I just didn't play. I chose to take that time off. Plus, I worked after school, and then I got ready for baseball season.
Wait a minute. Whoa, stop right there.
Yeah.
You had a job in school.
Yeah.
Kids nowadays
Don't know what that is.
Whoa, wait a minute. You mean I can't go fishing or I can't go play my video
I
games?
can't work. I've got to study.
Yeah.
You got an F.
Yeah.
Hey, my parents were very much dedicated to supporting my athletic career, but if I didn't play a sport and I was out of school at 3:30,
At 3:32.
go get a job.
Yeah.
Yeah. I worked at Foxworth Galbraith Lumber Yard for 2 or 3 years after school. And then I'd work on Saturdays.
Wow.
And then, it was gas money, date money. You know. I mean, heck, man, I enjoyed it.
Friday night football game, you have to go home, go to bed,
Yeah.
so you can get ready for work the next morning.
There you go.
Yeah. See, that just builds character.
It does.
Kids nowadays, they need a job.
Yeah, they do.
Hey, this segment is...
Whoa.
What?
You didn't ask me if I played basketball.
This segment is brought to
you had
you
a
by...
job, Mike. You had a job.
This segment is brought to you by Steve Nichols Specialty Traco. Lake Fork guy Johnny Guys, he's going to be on the show a little bit later today.
Yep.
And Despino Jim South Tire for all your tire needs. From the family car to farm equipment, go to DespinoTire.com to find a dealer near you. Okay, we mentioned Johnny Guys is going to be on the show. We're going brim fishing today with Greg Prosell.
Great brim angler. Great angler, period.
Yeah, but you know what now? I've started seeing some of the guys on Lake Bistineau starting to catch some of the big chinky pans, the red ears. We called them shell crackers when I was growing up.
Yeah.
I don't know if anybody.
I always call them chinkapins.
Chinkapins, red ears, but and there's some bluegills mixed in there.
Yeah.
But it's like they really hadn't heated up yet.
Right,
I mean,
right.
it just hadn't got strong. In fact, I've been on the lake a lot over the last couple of weeks, and I hadn't smelled any brim beds anywhere.
That's true. That's
You
true.
know.
You can smell
A friend of mine, Ted McCrory, him and his wife, lovely wife Linda, this weekend caught, I think, 100 red
Oh, wow.
ears.
Wow.
Yeah.
Is there a
Yeah.
limit on brim?
I hope it's 50 apiece.
Yeah. No, I mean, I don't know that there's
For
a
Ted's
really
sake
don't think
now.
there is.
I don't think there's
I
a
don't think
limit
there
on brim.
Yeah.
No.
I don't think there's a size limit or
It's how
anything.
many do you want to clean?
Oh,
That's the limit.
dude.
That'd be 5.
I can remember my daddy hauling me and my brother out to the lake.
Yeah.
And, I mean, he took care of everything. I mean, he did the whole 9 yards. But the minute we got home, there's me and my brother with those blasted spoons.
Yeah. Done that. Yeah.
Oh, dude. You get to the point where it's 11 o'clock at night. You fished until, 8:30
Right.
in the summertime. And it's 11 o'clock at night. You got school the next day or whatever.
I don't keep a brim unless it's big enough to fillet.
Well, Daddy didn't. Daddy was not one of those fillet kind of guys, and we had plenty of brim back then that were big enough.
And
for
you
that.
know, you can fillet a brim, cut the rib cage out, and then put the fillets in a bowl and soak them in lime juice. And they will draw up tight, like toughen up. And then you can drop them in crab boil, and they're not much different than like eating shrimp.
Get out of here!
I mean, they're not exactly like shrimp.
How
but
did you learn that?
Huh?
Really?
Well, I was cleaning
that a
brim
12?
and they fell
Is that
off
a
the table
Is that a 12
into a
pack?
bucket of paint thinner.
A 12 pack.
Okay, so you take the brim fillets,
Yeah.
you soak them in lime juice.
Yeah, if you just throw them in boiling water, they'll fall apart.
Yeah,
Right.
And,
But
you don't boil them long.
Huh.
And they don't taste just like shrimp, but they taste pretty good as an appetizer to dip in cocktail sauce.
I'll be dog,
That
and they'll
sounds
hold
good.
together pretty good.
Yep.
Now, do y'all keep the tails on your brim?
Dude, I'm
some
telling you,
people
to this day, if I eat brim, they're whole.
Oh, really?
Yes, and the tail's the first thing I eat.
Is it really?
It's like tater chips.
And I love whole fish. It's just I'm the only one at the house that does.
I
so
like whole
I'm
fish, too.
overruled.
yeah.
Yeah, I like
yeah.
whole fish as well.
Now I've got some of those big old copper nose brim in my pond, and after you and I were talking to Tommy Brown, and he said don't keep all those great big ones
Yeah.
out of there because
Out of your pond?
Yeah, he
Yeah.
said those were the best ones for breeding and
Yeah.
stuff like that. And there for the longest, boy, we were. I mean, if it wasn't a
If it
pound,
bit?
if it wasn't a pound, I mean, you didn't even keep it. I mean, we had some brim in there go. I'm talking about pushing 2 pounds.
All fillets.
Pound and a half
Layers.
brim. I mean, they were monsters. But we got off
Yeah,
of
a
that.
pound and a half copper nose brim will actually run off a 5 to 6 pound bass that's trying to raid its nest.
Yeah,
Where a
yeah.
bluegill will run from the bass, copper nose will fight.
That's what Tommy was telling us was that as far as that went, that kind of helped protect
Yeah.
the brim population in the pond.
Oh, but I wanted to tell both of y'all because Randy Howell and his wife Robin have their own TV show called Catching with Robin and Randy, and they went to Heartland 1010. I actually watched the episode this morning on YouTube. I was getting dressed this morning. I watched, and they did a great job. That's a good show.
Really?
Yeah, they got their own little show. They do a great job with it. They got this quote.
Well, he's kind of faith based.
Yeah,
anyway.
very much so.
Yeah.
Very much so. And the guy we have on today is very much faith based.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Okay, speaking of that, on the show today, some really cool stuff along with Greg Prosell. We're going brim fishing. Johnny Geis and FLW Pro Mark Rose, currently leading the FLW for Angler of the Year, the big race there. He's also going to talk about his Major League Fishing circuit. Is this right? He has averaged $9,580 per event
Well, that's
for
a-
his career.
Yeah, well, FLW. Is that crazy?
That's not this year. That's his career. He's averaging almost 10
I
grand.
averaged it out yesterday. Over $2 million he's won.
Holy crap.
Yep.
I could live off that.
Yeah, I can
Yeah.
do that. I don't,
Well, not if I went to any more auctions, but I could live off that.
oh, yeah, you did go to the QDMA auction.
Yeah, I don't want to talk about that.
No? Okay.
QDMA
I heard you got a
banquet
good pistol.
for sale.
Had Val Kilmer's address on it. Would you sell it? Would you
Yes.
take? Would you take $1,000 for it?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yep.
Because it's worth $2,200.
That's right.
Ish.
Yeah, yeah.
Right along
It's a
it.
shadow box with a pistol with Val Kilmer's picture in it is Doc Holliday. Mm-hmm. And something says...
What was it titled?
Tombstone.
Tombstone.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
love that movie.
Yeah.
man.
Oh, what a
all
great
around.
movie.
I'm telling you, that's a great.
Was that the
movie.
one with Kurt Russell?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I didn't prefer it. I preferred White Earp with Kevin Costner.
Oh, yeah.
That's another
That's a
great
good
movie.
one, too.
It's-
But you know what?
Yeah.
If you remember, they both came out about the same time.
Is that
It
Unforgiven?
was a race.
Yes.
It was a race.
Yes.
Yeah.
Was that Unforgiven?
No, Unforgiven was with Clint Eastwood,
Yeah.
Morgan Freeman, and
You're right.
what's his name? Other guy.
What was the Clint Eastwood movie where he spit tobacco juice in the dog's eye?
Josie Wales.
Josie Wales.
yeah.
Josie Wales.
Communist.
I'm sorry, I forgot. You don't know anything about basketball.
And I'm proud of it.
Any rate, Mark Rose is going to be on the show. Huge deer hunter, crappie angler. He's going to talk about how he combats his burnout as a pro angler. And a little bit of discussion. I don't know if you saw it yesterday on Facebook, but they were running a live video camera on Facebook yesterday. News crews flying in helicopters and stuff. There was a bear. Did you see this, Jay? A bear going through a neighborhood in New Jersey. And this bear is pilfering, and I mean they put on a bear alert. They told people stay inside your house, and I would think that if a bear wanted in your house,
Yeah.
I mean he didn't have any problem getting in there. It was a
No.
big old. I guess it was a black bear, but it was way bigger than anything we've got here. And I don't know what they ultimately did with it, but we have a lot of occasions where we have brushes with wildlife.
I read something somewhere. I'm sure it was true, but it said a bobcat at Walmart in Halton.
Walmart in Blanchard.
Blanchard. Okay.
Walmart in Blanchard.
Oh, wow. That was a bobcat.
Now wait a minute.
I know
Hey,
that guy.
do you know where the Masonic Lodge is in downtown Blanchard? It's right there on Main Street. No, you don't. Anyway, it's on
Blanchard
Main
has a Main Street?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
My daddy was in that Masonic Lodge. My daddy came walking out, and he was on crutches. I'll never forget this. He was on crutches, and he came walking out in his
From
truck.
hazing?
It was,
From the
yeah.
initiation?
No, he had fallen out of a deer stand and broke his tailbone. My little brother had to carry him out of the woods about 2 miles. Anyway, he's on
Gets better.
He was on crutches from this, and he's walking up to his pickup truck, which was parked right across the street. There used to be woods there. They got a credit union there now. Used to be some big old post oak trees in there. And Daddy walks across right to his pickup truck, and standing right beside his pickup truck, he said was a bobcat, looked like it weighed 60 pounds.
Big bobcat.
And he said, I looked at that bobcat looked at me, and I looked back at that bobcat, and I said, Cat, you got two choices. You can run along, mind your own business, or I'm going to crutch you to death. I don't know which one you want,
Crutch.
but I'm armed.
You finna get crutched.
I'm ready to go. KVD did it.
Yeah, he did. 25th Bassmaster win. You say that. He just doesn't really.
He's going to
register.
get good one day. He's going to get on
Not
a roll.
to downplay what you just said about Mark Rose. That's incredible.
Oh, yeah, it is.
$9,000 something a day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wonder what KVD's is.
You know what? I bet that's a great.
I'll look that up and I'll figure it out before the show's over.
25 wins. They say no one will ever do that again. And he's not done. In fact, it was kind of weird. I was reading an article about him. They asked him, they said, so what about this? Do you think you'll retire? He said, well, the short answer is no. I'm having way too much fun.
Yeah.
Let me tell you what, if you got people just lining up to hand you $100,000
Man.
on a regular basis, does he go, would you say the longest he's gone without a win would be what, 2 years, maybe 3?
Yeah, it was just recently until the Toledo Bend
Yeah. That was 2 years ago?
2 years ago. He
Yeah.
had a little stretch there about a year and a half. He didn't win.
Yeah.
And people were
But
questioning,
that
is
year,
KVD done?
when in Toledo, he won again that year. He won twice that year.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
About 5 or 6 years ago, I was working with BASS down in Toledo for the Elite. And I knew Tommy Brown was wanting somebody to come over to his place and do some video work. So I walked up to Kevin Van Dam. I said, would you be willing to go to a private lake, do a little video work for a free deer hunt, kill a 150 to 160 class deer? And he looked at me and said, no. He said, not that I wouldn't want to. He said, I love to deer hunt, but I've got my own lease, and I'm with Ray Mursky on his lease in Texas, and I don't have time to go to any of them.
Wow.
He said, thanks for the offer,
Yeah.
but I just can't obligate because of time. I
Wow.
turned around, and standing over there was Denny Breyer. I walked over there and I asked Denny Brower the same question, and he said, hell yes.
Yeah, he didn't hesitate.
And that's how he and Tommy Brown wound up being dear friends.
They're just true
And
friends.
Tommy wound up being his doctor.
Well, I'll be darned.
Real quick, here are the results from Grand Lake. Kevin Van Dam won it with 83 pounds. Tommy Biffle, glad to see Tommy. Of course, this is close to his home neck of the woods. Tommy Biffle came in second. Roy Hawk, Bradley Roy, Seth Felder, Brandon Lester, Greg Vinson was seventh, Paul Mueller, Randall Tharp, and our boy Jordan Lee was 10th. I'm telling you, that guy is continuing to just do well, tournament after tournament. He's really becoming one of the top anglers on the circuit. I know he's won 2 classics, but other than the 2 classic wins, he's kind of been. But he's starting to really rise to the top in a lot of tournaments. So,
well, sit tight. Here in a minute, some outdoor news and hot topics on the way. We're hooking up and tracking down 11:30. The Tiger.
Space shuttle fell out of the sky.
The Hooking Up and Tracking Down show is proud to be associated with our fine sponsors, Toledo Town and Tackle, V&M Baits, Commercial Power Equipment, Daiwa Samurai Braid, and J&J Exterminating. Don't let pests invade your next event. Call J&J Exterminating today. Now back to the guys who appreciate a good exterminator, Gary, Steve, and Mike.
real quick, Daiwa rosin reels. They have a rod or reel to fit your budget and your needs. Reels like the Steves, Azilian, Tatula, Lexa, or Fuego. Signature Series rods from the one and only Randy Howe, Brent Ayler, Takahiro Omori, and Andy Gumry. Also, Daiwa's leading the way in innovation and quality. Also, try the #1 fishing braid on the market today, Daiwa Samurai. And you can go to Daiwa.com or go to Bayou Outdoor Supercenter, Toledo Town and Tackle, Nichols Department Stores to see the entire Daiwa lineup. Check them out. You will not regret it. It's a great product, great fishing line. Again, best braid on the market. Check them out, Daiwa.
Get Out and Fish Day this weekend in Ruston. Is it just Ruston, or is it all over the state?
I got this off LDWF, and it's just the city of Ruston. Invite you to join us for the Get Out and Fish community fishing event Saturday, May 5th at the Elmore D. Mayfield Park. The pond will be stocked by Louisiana Wildlife and Fisheries Foundation. Prior to the event, with 1,000 pounds of adult channel cat, a perfect size to load the ice chest and bring home. Great feed. That'd be good feed.
Oh, dude, yeah.
And the event will take place 6:30 a.m. until noon and is free to the public. The first 100 youth registrants ages 15 and under will receive a goodie bag. In addition, every participant will be entered into a raffle drawing to win a variety of prizes. Lunch will be provided free of charge by Grown and Grays.
Gown and Grays.
Yeah,
we know them. Well, that's one of those websites that Eccles looks at.
Nightgowns
and
grays.
Lunch is free while supplies last. If the Gown and Grays girls are there, you ain't gonna get none.
They look like the Budweiser girls.
I think so.
Yeah, that's what I think.
But anyway, fishing.
We did something just like this in Minden.
Yeah,
They
they
did it,
did, yeah. Yeah.
back in the fall,
Yeah,
seems like.
Natchitoches has actually done one. The Natchitoches Fish Hatchery. But
Look how
anyway.
red you are. You embarrassed yourself.
No, actually, my allergies are kicking in.
Oh,
today,
okay.
Big time. And I don't know why.
You're allergic to Gary and Mike?
Maybe so. Or Jay.
No, not Jay.
All right, it's
We can leave. He can't leave.
this Saturday, the Elmore D. Mayfield Park in Ruston.
Yep.
What is it? 6:30 until noon. Absolutely free.
Yeah. And you get to take the fish home.
Yeah.
Man, that can't be
And there's
bad,
no
dude.
limit.
No, just fill up your ice chest.
Yeah.
Man.
I'm in.
Again, catch as many as you want to fillet.
I can do that. Apparently, a body has been recovered at Tickfall Lake. The body of a 42-year-old man who was missing after a boating accident Sunday afternoon, recovered from the Tickfall River. Louisiana Department of Wildlife and Fisheries say the body of Daniel Jones of Holden was recovered about 11:30 Monday morning in Livingston Parish. A female survivor told authorities that she was with Jones when he was operating his 15-foot boat with a surface drive motor. Golly. Those things,
They're dangerous.
you got it. But you know what? Anything is dangerous.
Yeah, if you don't.
If you're not paying attention.
Yep.
That's what I tried to teach all three of my boys. People get hurt when they're not paying attention. It doesn't matter if you're on a football field
Yep.
or if you're in the living room watching TV.
Yeah, you're right.
But you've really got to pay attention with these motors like this. It was near Leisure Landing, south of Springfield. They were both ejected coming out of a turn in the river. She swam to shore, but Jones never resurfaced. Neither occupant was wearing a life jacket when the incident occurred. Authorities searched for Jones until late Sunday night, continued the operation at daybreak Monday morning. Cause of the accident has not yet been determined. How do they figure that, the cause of the accident? I mean, they said it was in a turn,
I don't know if he hit something and threw him out, or maybe he just lost control.
Have you driven one of the surface drive motors, Mike?
Yes. And they're also known as shallow water drive.
Is it
Gives you a hint that you should listen to. Shallow water boats.
No.
Those boats are not made for running
water.
across big water.
Yeah.
And I know everybody can't afford two boats.
Right.
I understand that. But we had a boating fatality this past winter.
Yes, we
on
did.
Caddo Lake, and it was due to rough water and a shallow water boat.
Mm-hmm.
And it just
Extremely cold conditions.
they don't go together. Plus, you drive, most of them you drive standing up.
Right.
So if you're not wearing a life jacket with a kill switch, which a lot of times they're not, you're kind of asking for trouble.
Right.
Yeah.
So they are not the boat that you need to be running across open water, rough water. You need to be going shallow water to your duck line.
Mm-hmm.
So
I've never driven one. Is it hard to hold on to it?
Yeah, a fair amount of torque. Yeah.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Well, I've held many a tiller handle outboard in my hand.
No,
but
they're worse.
Well, I
They're
can
worse.
only imagine.
And when they get away from you, you hit something, they get away. It's so long a handle
Yeah.
that when it gets away and swings, it swings. The radius is great.
Right.
Yeah.
It's not like it just swings over there like a foot and a half and you reach and grab it.
Right.
Doesn't take much to really throw everything out of the way.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That's some scary stuff.
Yeah. So our
Our prayers with him.
Yeah, no
For
doubt.
sure.
No doubt. Real quick, Bass Cash Bash update. The truck tag has been caught again at Sam Ray.
The same fish?
Same fish.
Was this guy registered?
Just received word and photos from crappie guide Kathy Wheatley of MC Outdoors Adventures showing that the Weaver Motors Kirby Bass Cash Bass truck tag was caught this weekend. Mike Gastro of Waterloo, Illinois. He was not, of course, registered.
Oh, no.
And, so he won't be driving home in a new truck.
No. Two times this fish was caught in the same year.
Was he? Did it say was he fishing with Kathy?
I would assume he was if she's the one reporting it. And
Let's just say it was.
Yeah.
And for anyone that doesn't know, Kathy and Mike Wheatley, longtime residents right here. Mike's been part of our little crew for, eons.
Yeah. He lived in Logansport, down around Logansport.
Great guy. They said they'll be sending him a Rod Armor's prize pack, for catching the fish. Of course, he don't get the truck. He said, I know it won't take away the sting of missing out on the truck, but we hope he enjoys his package. And so we caught this bass in December, and it was released back into the lake, and like I said, just recently got caught again. So, and also Toledo Bend is now officially in tournament mode for Bass Catch.
Oh, it started May 1.
Yep, May 1. So
that's right. I forgot about it yesterday.
If you're going to Toledo, make sure you sign up.
You know what? With our Boss Championship on Toledo,
Yes.
wouldn't that be awesome if somebody caught, a big dollar fish, in the tournament or pre-fishing for the tournament?
There's going to be in the neighborhood of 70 to 80 teams towards the end of May that spend more time on Toledo Bend than they've spent on Toledo Bend in 10 years.
Yeah. You're exactly right.
You're right. So there's a good chance somebody's going to catch one.
Would that be? Now, wait a minute. You talk about awesome. Would it not be awesome? Does he give away a truck and a car also, or a truck and a boat on Toledo also? Isn't that part of the prize?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay, we're talking about the Bass Cash Bash here. $50 entry fee. Would that be awesome? Because you're giving away two brand new boats in the Boss Championship. What if the gods just smiled down on you and you caught a tagged fish that was worth the boat and you won one of the two divisions of the tournament?
Yeah.
And you won another with
2 boats.
But it's possible.
Oh yeah, it's possible.
I mean, that could happen.
Or you could win a new truck and pull your new boat home.
Yeah. I mean, it ain't
I want to
likely.
go on record right now telling Mr. PD
Vincent,
that I've got $100 in there if you can help me rig this.
Real quick, we also got some news from Bass Pro Shop is being sued by a former supplier of a lure copyright and patent dispute. Huddleston Deluxe of Las Vegas has filed a patent infringement, copyright infringement, unlawful competition lawsuit.
Huddleston's a swim bait company.
Exactly. Papers allege that certain Bass Pro Shop products sold under the XPS brand incorporated by Huddleston's patent swim bait invention and the company distinct designs.
Hey, that Huddleston swim bait, it's high dollar.
But as me and Mike were talking before we went on the air, I'm surprised this doesn't happen more often because what is fishing? It's a copycat industry.
Yeah.
I don't think this will go very far.
Right.
But I could be wrong. I don't know how much it really looks like the Bass Pro Shop.
I don't know how what the law states as far as what changes you have to make to it
I don't know if it's different from product to product, but it's something like a 20 to 25% change in some things. I don't know if that's across the board. Right. But I mean, how do you change a fish bait?
How do you change a plastic worm?
Yeah.
Honestly, when you really consider all the different worms that are out there, how would you come up with another worm right now that somebody doesn't already have on the market or didn't have?
Especially a creature bait, like brush hog, baby brush hogs.
Yeah.
I mean, how many of those are out there that look almost identical?
It's true.
I mean, they do. They all look alike.
The ABA Open Series was held this past weekend on Sam Rayburn, and Graf, you were there. Did you win?
Let's just say I was there.
Did you catch fish?
Also participating category?
If there was a tournament that I would have probably had a shot at ever winning on Sam Rayburn or any shallow water angler, Cole Garrett called me. He said, "Graf, we blew our opportunity. You're not going to win tournaments on Shadow Lake on Sam Rayburn in shallow water.
Right.
It just doesn't happen.
Right.
This was the tournament. 17-21 won the event.
17 pounds won on Rayburn.
Albert Collins won it with 17-21.
Holy crap! You know what? I mean, fishing's just been tough all over lately.
It got real tough at Rayburn. Shane Williams finished third. We all know Shane, great angler, does a wonderful job. He had 15.06. Glenn Freeman was fourth. Shocker. Of course, we put him on the fish when he was on the show last week. That's what the whole deal was with that.
Yeah.
He had fourth, 15.04.
You should have kept it for yourself.
Really. Let's see here. Kevin Lazion was ninth. He had 13.96. Let's see here. Just going down the list. Todd Driscoll, who we've had on the show, a biologist over there in Texas, he had 12.79 for 14th. As you can see, Aaron Johnson finished 18th with 11.58. Michael Bruton, I think he's he's originally from Winfield. He finished 19th with 11.50. Billy Grace was 21st. It was just overall. Cole Garrett was 31st with 10 pounds, a little over 10. So
I wish
Sam Huckabee,
we could find out from Albert just cutoff time. I've got to go in. I've got 17 pounds.
Yeah.
Where he thought he was going to finish.
Oh, wow.
And based off other finishes, I bet he thought he was going to be probably 12th or 13th.
Really?
That's what it's been. That's about where the 12th or 13th has been falling.
Well, sit tight. We're going brim fishing.
Yeah.
We've never done a brim fishing segment on this show
That's
before.
why I thought it was a good time to
We're
do it.
going brim fishing with Toledo Bend angler Greg Procell. That's next. Hooking up and tracking down. 11:30, The Tiger.
Looking for valuable information that'll make you a better hunter, fisherman, or just a better person? Then check out our website. It's HUTDshow.com, loaded with essential info you need to make you a better outdoorsman. This segment presented by K2 Coolers, Nichols Department Stores, Groove Fishing, Lake Fork Marina, and Toledo Fiberglass, home of the Gorilla Hole and your Minn Kota headquarters for the Arklatex. For all your fiberglass repair needs, turn to Toledo Fiberglass. Once again, here's Steve, Gary, and Mike.
Speaking of Toledo Fiberglass, I want to mention just how wonderful of a business we're talking about there. Right there on the banks of Toledo Bend. And anybody who has spent much time in Louisiana, Texas waters, you know the odds are at some point in your boating career,
You're going to get a bobo.
Yes, it's going to happen. Yeah. And Toledo Fiberglass is there for you, in business for 36 years. Fiberglass repair and restoration, and they are the home of the Gorilla Hole, a lifetime warranty. And the cool part about that is it isn't one of those warranties where it just covers like the actual materials and stuff like that. It's labor, the whole 9 yards.
Yeah.
You knock a hole in it, you got a Gorilla Hole on there, you knock a hole in it, they will take care of you the 100%. I mean, the whole
life of the boat.
Yeah.
Yeah, not just the owner.
Right.
Right.
You sell the boat, the warranty carries over.
If Gary dies tomorrow and he's got a Gorilla Hole and I take it over, it's still the boat. Gary's gone, but we ain't, no big deal.
You've been wanting to bury me off.
I still got the warranty.
You've been wanting to bury me off to it. Every time we turn it, if Gary died, you know something I don't know? You got a crystal ball?
I'm going to tell you what I had a dream about last night.
Please.
Well, I had trouble going to sleep. I had some kind of major anxiety going on, like something bad was fixing to happen.
Yeah.
So you might not want to sit next to me today. I don't know.
I'm good.
We got a guest, and you're talking about dreams.
Yeah.
That's true. Talking about a dream fishing trip, this is the guy.
They are also a Humminbird and Minn Kota dealer just west of Toledo Town, Highway 6 in the Manny area. To learn more, just go to ToledoFiberglass.com. Greg Procell, you don't know where Toledo Fiberglass is, do you?
Well, actually, I do. I built a lake home, and I can come out of my back porch and see Toledo Fiberglass.
Oh, really?
Now, there's a rumor on the street out there, Greg, that you know a little bit about Toledo Bend.
Yeah, I've fished it a time or two. Yes, sir.
That's what I heard. Now, was the old story that I think you told me, this is Gary, I think you told me this, 25, 30 years ago, that one of the best strings of fish that you ever caught was the old basketball court where you grew up playing basketball. Well, I say court. where you used to have the dirt and everything where y'all played basketball. Was that true, or is that just telling Gary a lie?
That's not telling Gary a lie. That's not a myth. They had the big boy backboard on one side of the pine tree, and for the little boys, they had the backboard a little bit low on the other side of the pine tree. And on Sunday after church, you would play basketball until it was time to go eat or it got dark. So that's what we did. But, yes, I did catch 7 fish by there in 1972 that weighed 49.5 pounds, and they were native largemouth.
And did you actually have trouble when you hooked them, getting them up through the net?
Way to go, Mike.
You know what? Now, I've got a question. When you think about that, you mentioned native largemouth. Are you a fan of the Florida bass, or do you think that we might have messed things up bringing in the Florida strain?
Well, I'll say this here. I don't know if we messed up, but, a Florida bass, they grow real fast. They're genetically bred to grow real fast, and they'll go and gorge on food, and then they'll go lay up, and they won't eat. That's the reason they get so big. Where natives traditionally are more aggressive, and weather patterns don't affect the natives as much as they do the Florida strain.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what we've been told by
Okay, we're going brim fishing.
Yeah.
Well, and what brought this up, Greg, I don't know if you remember this or not, but 7, 8, 10 years ago, you made a statement to me one time. If you could turn back the clock, you would never guide for bass. You would have done it for brim all the time, because it was not that it was so easy, but it was so much easier to do a good job for your customers day in and day out.
Well, it was so good for kids and for ladies. Most kids are not intimidated by small fish. If you pull a big old bass or a big old catfish up there or something, they're a little bit intimidated. And I'm talking kids that, 5, 6, 7 years old. But if you take them brim fishing at brim, don't intimidate them so much, because they're not that big a fish. And this time of year, we've already been, and we're fixing to go this weekend. If the rain don't get us, my whole family, I've been taking my kids since they were 4 and 5 years old, and we have not missed very many years. And it's just a fun time. And brim, are like anything else, they're going to bed up and spawn, and they normally come back to the old places where they spawn. And a good rule of thumb is we all of us riding down the road, and you heard clover red, brim on a bed. And that's pretty much true. When you see that clover getting red on the side of the road, brim are going to bed up.
Greg, now, for chinky pins, the red ears, shell crackers, what we call them.
Yeah.
But what's your favorite bait? Can you get as good a bite on a cricket or a worm as you do like on the little baby crawfish?
The baby crawfish would be a lot better. And up here where we live with all the cypress tree lakes, that's where you have more of the red ears, than you do on Toledo Bend. You'll catch some on Toledo Bend because we're getting so many cypress trees, but they love cypress trees. And up here on Caddo Lake, I used to guide for them up there, and if you was fortunate enough to sing you out some real small white crawfish, they would just eat those things up. But crickets and worms, they'll work too, because they're bedded up and locked in. Anything you put in there to eat, they're going to eat it.
Now, Greg, this is Steve here. I've seen several times we've gone out with Johnny Geist before, and sometimes you pull the legs off the crickets. Do you do that, or you leave the legs on, or does it matter?
No, it don't matter. When they really bed it up, I'm talking about, you'll have anywhere from 20 to 40 beds in one little area. Boat don't bother them. When they locked in there spawning, every time we've actually caught 150 sitting in one place.
Wow. Yeah. Have you ever had a guide party that wanted to just catch them on artificial lures?
Yes, I have, and I'll tell you one of the gentlemen's name, Mr. John Turner, that owns TMR Exploration. I guided him years ago, and he wanted to fly fish for him with an artificial lure, and I tell you, that was exciting to watch him roll that thing up under this bush where these beds were and bring those brim out there.
Oh, wow.
Well, Greg, most people that brim fish do it for about a month period when they're up on the bank and they're in shallow water and they're bedding, but I've heard you talk about doing it earlier than that or later the year and actually fishing out like the edge of grass beds out in deeper water. So it's not just something that...
No.
Yeah.
No, it's not. And you can catch them right up through the wintertime. You can catch brim right up through the wintertime, just like you see people ice fishing on TV up north. That water's cold. They still catching fish. It's the same way down in here. If you wanted to brim, you could go out there with worms or crickets even in the wintertime and get out there in about 14 to 17 foot of water just where the crappie are at, and you can catch brim.
You know what? It's amazing that you'd mentioned that because I watched old Mr. Robert Beeson where the Beeson's boat road hit out there close to the river channel in the old north-south boat road there. There was a brush top on the south side of that. I watched old Mr. Robert sit in a boat out there, which you didn't see him in a boat very often, but I saw him in a boat out there, and he was wearing the big brim out. And I know it had to have been right before Thanksgiving if it wasn't Thanksgiving week.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, a lot of them old-timers, they you know, a lot of them swear by eating those brim, and I do too. I think they're one of the best eating fish out there. And they want a good mess of brim, they knew where to go catch them. But you can catch them year-round. You just have to fish different, just like for bass or crappie or anything else. You just have to fish different. You know, like Mike said, though, right now they're up in the shallows, they're spawning, and that's where you can catch them.
Now, Greg, one of the worst things about, of course, catching 150 brim, my only brim fishing trip was with you and Kenneth Ebarb. We went out and we caught 150 or so. We had to go back and clean them suckers. Have they come up with a better way to clean brim than a spoon anymore?
Well, actually, I try to get my gang to keep the bigger ones where I can fillet them because they don't want to fight the bones. And you don't get a big fillet, but if you get a hand size or bigger brim, you can get a pretty nice fillet off of them. But I can fillet them buddies pretty fast. If I got somebody cutting the rib cages out, we can go through 100 pretty quick.
Okay. Now, tell the truth. Would you rather a fillet or a whole brim? I mean, if everybody liked whole brim, how would you prefer them?
I like them both, just like when I go to Jan's River Restaurant. Sometimes I eat fillets, sometimes I'll eat them whole. You know, it just depends. I can eat them either way. I can eat them. It don't make no difference to me. If they're fried up, I can eat them. You know.
Well, now I know you've done a lot of guiding for brim. Don't you get tired of cleaning 150 brim for your guide clients all the time?
Yes, when I was in a yes, but that was the easiest money I ever made when I guided. Of course, I ain't guided in 24 years, but the whole time I was teaching school, I guided. But the good thing about guiding for brim, by 10 o'clock you was done.
Yeah.
I mean, you was done. They done had a good day. They're happy because they done caught 100, 150 of them, and I mean, they're done. You come in and clean them, and it's lunchtime.
I was actually joking because I was assuming that a brim fishing guide didn't clean the fish. That's what I thought, really.
Right, well, I did, and but I've had a pretty good guide service, and I cleaned them. It wasn't no big deal. It just, get there. And but if you got somebody to help you to cut the rib cages out, that's the biggest thing,
Now, Greg, if you want to set up a place, like I've got a dock on Sibley Lake, and I've got a lot of brush around it, I've heard you can take a tow sack of cottonseed meal and drop that in there, and if them brim will really come to that'll help create a little brim sanctuary, so to speak. Is that the best thing you know of for like trying to bait brim up?
Well, that's good, not just for brim, but what it does, it brings in the bait food, and the brim come in there to eat them, and the white perch come in there to eat the bait food too. So it's just a kind of a chain reaction, as far as the food chain is concerned. Everything's got to eat that's in the water, and then the bigger it eats the little, So yeah, it will attract brim. It'll attract crappie too.
What else would you use for something like that to bait a brim hole?
Probably, I probably would be my number one choice. In cover, if you got some treetops and stuff down there, of course, like I said, if you put treetops out there, I promise you could go there in the dead of winter with a cricket or a worm and you catch you some brim.
Mm-hmm. There was a guy that I used to fish with in Alabama on the Tom Bigby River, Okatuppa Creek there. He was the best brim fisherman that I ever had the chance to fish with. And one of the things that he would do is he always waited on the mayflies to show up, and he'd take an old cane pole, and it's kind of like the buckbrush and stuff going along the sides of the bank and stuff, and he'd take that cane pole anytime that he saw those mayflies up there, and he'd tap that bush, and those mayflies would fall out. And if brim didn't hit him, he said there's no need whatsoever to fish here. He said he said if those brim were here, they'd be hitting those. And then we would go to other places, and he would take a handful of crickets and throw them out in the water. Have you ever done something like that? Obviously, finding brim, you want to put, the best way is put your nose in the wind and smell them. But what's the best advice you give to somebody on finding those brim?
Usually, brim is going to bed up where there's sandy places, just like a bass. But say on Toledo Bend, I try to go up in a major creek and then get in a big arm and then fish the little secondary arms off the main arm. And that's usually where they'll go bed up. And once you find them on Toledo Bend, and around here too, they're always going to come back to the same place and spawn usually.
You wouldn't think that a man might find some brim around Solon's or up in San Pat, do you?
Imagine all you want to clean.
Greg Prosell, we love you, brother. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Hey, buddy, we appreciate it so much. And I'm telling you, that is one of the best opportunities to make a kid addicted to fishing.
That's true.
If you don't take it upon yourself to get them into our sport, it will die.
Yep. And it's not hard. It's hard to get a kid bass fishing.
Oh, it really is.
Yeah, especially when it's tough.
Yeah.
Yep.
So you get them started with something like catching those brim, or get one of the white perch guides down on Toledo Bend. Get into some pan fishing, and I promise you will have a fishing partner for life.
If you want to break them from tournament fishing, just have them go out with me.
Hey,
I'll break that habit.
We're going to Lake Fork. We've caught brim on Toledo Bend already. Now we're going to catch a big old bass with Johnny Geis. Our Lake Fork report is next. Hooking up and tracking down 11:30. The Tiger.
The kingdom, I've been called to be a fisher of men.
Have you been to our Facebook page yet? Go to Hooking Up and Tracking Down Show for outdoors news, videos, and great product giveaways. This segment presented by Cypress Knee Outdoors, Toledo Bend guide Daryl Gleason, and United Rentals, the only place to get all the equipment you'll need to complete your next project. Go to UnitedRentals.com to learn more.
We're hooking up and tracking down. It's Gary McCoy and the Ranger Iowa Pro Staffer Steve Graff. Though Mud Hen Mike Eccles is here, and we just went brim fishing with Greg Prosell a second ago.
Yeah.
Johnny Geis, our Lake Fork Guide of the Year, on the phone right now. Have you ever taken people on a brim fishing trip, Johnny?
Oh, that's the start of every trip I got in May. You know that.
That's
oh,
right.
Dude. Well,
That's
that's
right.
what we were talking about. You know where every brush top in Lake Fork is, and they're always full. Now, do you ever catch brim that are too big?
Yeah, really. I've caught them. When they cover up the whole top of the cricket bucket, I usually can't catch a bass on that one.
Wow.
But you don't throw them back.
I tell you what, you can find them with nowadays. Though you can get your Humminbird or Lowrance, you get your side imaging, go in a cove, and you can find every brim bed in that cove where I used to have to hunt and peck and smell them out and everything else. But you can find them quick on the graph now.
Really? Can you see real defined beds on the side imaging?
Oh, not only that, you can see the bed, but you zoom it in, and you'll see the little white dots sitting in every one of them, and them big old bluegill are sitting on them.
Get out of here.
Yeah, that don't surprise me.
That's
Absolutely.
awesome. Now tell me this. If you were just Johnny Geis bass fisherman, not Johnny Geis, the Lake Fork Guide of the Year, and you took that information that you have, how far away from a brim bed would you wander when you knew they're bedded up there? How far away would you get if you were looking for a big old bass?
Oh, they're running right through the brim bed.
Yeah.
Once the brim get bedded up, there'll be 2 or 3 full bass that'll just that'll be their place to go eat every morning. They'll run in there and chase them all out. I mean, numerous times I catch the big bluegill, reeling him back in, and a bass come up and eat him while I'm reeling him in.
Really?
No, it happens all the time. Sure.
Wow. Are the brim bedded on Lake Fork yet?
I haven't. I just tried just a little bit yesterday morning. Matter of fact, only caught one little brim. The party showed up, and we went on fishing. But it's time to start. These fish are finishing up their spawn right now, and started catching some white bass out deep. So it's just any day now they're going to be back where I like to have them, out of that shallow water, out on those ridges and humps.
Johnny, what's the water temp over there right now? Because everybody seems to think that we're running a couple of weeks behind on everything, and the only thing we can nail it down to is the cool nights and the water temp.
Well, absolutely. That's what's happened. It stays 65 so long on Fork. In fact, almost every morning it is 65. Now, the last couple of days it's heated up, and I'm sure it'll be sitting on close to 70 now. I'm on Lake Welsh right now, 75 over here, and we're just having a tremendous day topwater fishing right now.
Really? What are you catching them on?
Yellow Magic, little old popper. I mean, they're eating it up. Now, we caught
Imagine
about
that.
30 on the swim bait earlier, and then we started catching them on the Ned rig, punching the high drill, and then picked up Yellow Magic, and they're eating it up.
I bought 4 Yellow Magics. I was with you, Johnny.
Yeah,
I bought 4
yeah.
Yellow Magics.
Who
2 years.
Who financed?
I was going to say I've almost got them paid off. I think 2 more payments are.
They're worth their weight in gold.
Yeah,
I can tell you that.
buddy.
They'll catch fish. Now, Johnny, over there at Lake Welsh, are you fishing the edge of the grass? Or are you way up shallow? What are you looking for over there?
We're sitting right down by the dam. It's matted up all over with high drill out there, about 15 or 20 feet right now, and
Wow.
we got deep little fingers and got a little bit of yellow slime on top of some of it, but I don't know. It's just a good old cloudy day, and I think there was one other boat that launched this morning, and that's it. And we've got the whole thing to ourselves and just having a ball.
Do you ever have guests that you do punching with, that you actually punch the grass?
Well, we do when the sun's out. It's cloudy today, and we're catching on the outside edges of it.
Right.
Just getting right where it feathers out. That seems to be best. But that little Ned rig, it's just amazing with 6-pound lines, the number of bites you can get.
6-pound line.
Wow. If a fish,
So you're brim fishing, right?
Exactly.
Well, I caught 2 brim on the Yellow Magic already today.
wow.
Yeah.
Now
So they're
with the Ned rig, what would you say would be the biggest thing to learn about it? There's certain water you look at or certain conditions you look at and you know, okay, this would be right. Like you're looking at that topwater bite today with the cloudy skies and on the edge of the grass. What would tell you I'm in Ned rig water?
Well, I don't know if it's any certain water, any place that you'd fish a drop shot or Texas rig worm, they'll bite it. It's just getting confidence in it, just like anybody. My buddy here today, he wears me out every time on a drop shot. He did it this morning for about 15 or 20 minutes, caught 5 or 6 in a row. And he's got confidence in it, and he can catch them on it. So I've made him get that. In fact, he's got the Ned rig on right now, and he was just throwing topwater. So I got him off that for a while, so I don't get beat so bad.
Is that something that a person can get with Johnny Geis? Can they get could somebody say, hey, I really want to learn to crankbait fish, or I really want to learn how to fish the Ned rig or the drop shot? Is that something that they can get when they book Johnny Geis?
Yeah, I usually ask the customer right up first. Number one, what kind of thing we want to target today, and number two, is there anything you like to fish more so than others? And a lot of customers, they do better with the big buzz bait because all you got to do is chunk and wind.
Yeah.
And you can catch some real big fish on that. There's a new hot buzz bait on Lake Fork that's slaying the big bass right now. It's called a Rowdy Headbanger buzz bait. It's black with gold blade, and those big fish are clobbering that thing now.
Rowdy Headbanger?
Yeah, Rowdy Headbanger. The guy's out of Indiana. It's like the old Boogerman buzz bait, the one that hits the lead.
Yeah, yeah.
Slips along there. And we were on a trip with Brian Dupertine this week. Had 7 or 8 boats. The biggest fish of the day was awarded the prize from the customers. And all 3 of the days, all 3 of the big fish were caught on that Rowdy buzz bait.
Wow.
What's going on at Lake Monticello?
Lake Monticello's fishing pretty good. We were over there about a week and a half ago and caught 18 or 20 pretty quick that morning. It was a bright bluebird day and a little bit stained water, but it's fishing good. It's 3 foot low, and it looks like it's going to stay that way. It's same elevation as Bob Sandlin is right now.
Mm-hmm.
So it's easier to navigate up in the woods than it's ever been, because you can just drive between all the stumps.
Mm-hmm.
Little hydrilla, lily pads are coming up. Of course, it's the same temperature as Lake Fork right now. It's fishing just like that. So there'll be fish on the beds there now too.
Speaking of Lake Fork, as far as the lake itself goes, what's the level? Are you high, low?
We're maybe a half foot low right now. It's staying right on pool, and it fished the hardest for me in April as I've ever seen it.
Really?
I'm glad it did. It just frustrated me no end. And one day you could catch them, next day you can't get a bite. You have to change baits every day, and I mean, there were some guys that just clobbered them, but for me, it was a tough month, and the cold front came through. Every time it get to where, okay, I got this figured out, a cold front come through, and you'd have to start all over. They just wouldn't bite.
Yeah.
We had more north wind this spring than I can ever remember.
Yeah, that's true.
I think
And
every tournament I have fished this year, it has rained at some point.
The winds have just been terrible from one direction. The next day, it'll turn around and be exactly the opposite, and it's kept the lake stirred up and more murky and stained than we've ever had for it. It's just now starting to do a little bit of clearing up there, but like I said, it's time. My favorite time of the year is starting to happen, and I'll be dropping some big old bluegill on their head before long. And right now, though, there's still some pre-spawners coming up too, so it's not just perfect yet, but it's getting better every day.
And you know what, Johnny? It's not that we're not just part of the Johnny Geist family as far as the advertising relationship and stuff that we have. We've all been there.
Yeah, done it.
We've seen it. Biggest fish Graf ever caught.
Yeah.
Was doing that with Johnny Geist.
4 pounds.
I'm gonna tell you, this is something that we can testify to. What would you say is that magic water temperature that you're looking for?
Well, it's mainly just having the spawn over with and fish move back off the shallows. And, we're just now starting to shad spawn, so we'll have 2 weeks of early morning top water. Top water bite was great on Fork yesterday for Brian Dupertine and his party. I think they had like 30 on Yellow Magic yesterday morning. We were out trying to catch them deep, and sometimes you zig when you should zag. Well, boy, I did that yesterday. So.
Yeah.
Right now, get to Fork, get early, get a real early start. Put on the Yellow Magic, Czar spook. Look for the birds on the points. You can catch the fish early, and then you can start moving out on the main lake points and drop shots and crankbait a little bit. But it's like that. I'm already going to be moving out and doing just what I like to do, and that's being there when they start showing up on those humps and ridges. And
well, if somebody wants to be there with you when they do that, how do they make that phone ring?
Well, I need that phone to ring. I got a lot of good days open here in May, and it's fixing to book up. I know it always does, but you can sure get some good days. Give me a call at 972-800-3882. Area code's 972-800-3882. Got my website all redesigned, and Patrick Dennis did that for me. It looks real nice, so check that out. It's lakeforkbigfish.com. And, of course, I post to Facebook pages when we catch some good ones. We'll have some good pictures on it tomorrow for sure.
Johnny, guys, thank you, brother.
Thank you, Johnny.
Hey, it's time for us to go back.
Yeah. Oh, I agree. I'm ready.
It's almost, I mean.
We may need to book one of those May dates.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Let me get them biting, and I'll give you a call. We'll go.
Okay.
Mike, you got
Thank you, Johnny, guys. Sit tight. Mark Rose is on the way. He is leading the FLW Angler of the Year race right now. He's also going to talk to us about his Major League Fishing experiences he's had so far. That's on the way next. Hook it up and track it down. 11:30, The Tiger.
Elvira, Elvira, my heart's on fire for Elvira. Eyes that look like heaven, lips like cherry wine. That girl can sure enough make my little light shine. I get a funny feeling up and down my spine, 'cause I know that my Elvira's mine. So I'm singing Elvira, Elvira.
All right, here comes one more hour of the outdoors news and hot topics that you love on the greatest outdoor show ever, the Hooking Up and Tracking Down Show. This segment presented by the Red River Waterway Commission, Stingray Line Cutter, Despino and Jim's Big South Tire, and Commercial Power Equipment. For all your lawn care needs, see the experts at Commercial Power Equipment, located at 750 Burke Coons in Shreveport. Take it away, guys.
Well, we had FLW Mark Rose, FLW Pro Mark Rose on the phone, and his battery crapped out. So hopefully we'll try to get him a little bit later in the show. If that doesn't work out, Eccles and I are just going to wing it because
Elvira. Oh,
yeah, he just had to leave.
Oh.
Graf had to leave.
I thought you wanted me to sing.
No,
No.
we're good.
Well-
No, Graf's going to play basketball with his daughter.
Yes. Congratulations, Meredith.
Yes, the new head coach going to be announced here in 2 hours for the Ruston Bearcats. I'm assuming that's for the girls' team. Do you know, Jay, was it girls or boys?
I know nothing.
You got a mouthful. What are you eating over there?
Ruffles.
Yeah, what is that, Ruffles?
Yeah, I thought my talking was done. I'm
Yeah.
sorry about that.
See?
We wouldn't come in eating. Every time we've had food here, you've been invited.
Yeah, he's eating Ruffles all by himself. Yeah. Did your offer come? Did you hear at all? Hey, you want some of these Ruffles?
No, not at all.
not
Hey, I
one.
tell you what, you give me $1, I'll walk my butt back down to the snack machine down the hall and get
I'm
you
going
one.
to tell you right now. I want to give you something right now.
Okay.
Okay. You like peanut butter and jelly sandwich?
Hate it.
Really?
Yeah, I
Who
didn't-
hates peanut
I didn't
butter
know-
and jelly?
I never thought there'd come a day where I said that out loud in front of people.
Oh my God, that's un-American, dude.
But here we are.
Yeah. He said that in front of God and everybody.
Not a big fan.
Peanut butter and jelly. Well, let me tell you what. You take that peanut butter and jelly before you put them together, and you lay you Ruffles in the middle, and then you put that peanut butter and jelly together. Dude, it makes peanut butter and jelly better than ribeye.
No.
And you asked me a while ago how in the world I figured out to take brim fillets, soak them in lime juice, and then boil them.
Well, that's pretty creative.
How late at night did you come staggering in to come up with a PB&J and
That's when me and Ben Clemens were rooming together. We were
Tater
starving to
chip
death.
sandwich. There was alcohol involved.
Well, we wanted to talk to FLW Pro Mark Rose, but like I said, we got some technical difficulties on that. Indeed, he is leading the FLW Angler of the Year race at this point. He's also fishing the Major League fishing circuit. And you know what Graf was just telling us? I didn't know this. They have to pay to be in that circuit.
I've had a number of people ask me because I was involved just a little bit when Major League came here to Shreveport year and a half, 2 years ago.
Okay.
And they fished Caddo Lake. And
That's when Kevin Van Dam was killing them on Cross Lake.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And no, he's on Caddo's where he killed him.
He caught a bunch on Cross, too. I can show you the spot.
Oh,
Okay.
Show it to me.
I will.
Anyway, a lot of people have asked, what's the deal with Major League? I mean, do you pay to fish this tournament? What do you win if you win? All you ever hear is the cup.
Yes.
The cup.
Right.
And there's a lot of money involved. Or is this is Major League something to where one of the very, and I'm sure it is, one of the very, very few outdoor shows that is so successful that the network will actually pay them to be on? Everybody else has to buy airtime, but there are some, just like there's some radio shows that the station or the network will pay
Rush Limbaugh. Gary McCoy.
Gary McCoy. Hooking up, tracking down. Pay you instead of you having to buy your airtime.
Right,
and
exactly.
I think Major League may be one of those that has such a big draw.
Yeah.
So is it all about paying for the airtime, or are these anglers out there competing to win something besides, and I quote, the cup?
You know what? I'm glad you brought that up because.
Well, you told me to.
Well, no. When you consider the fact, though, that they are selling to advertisers, but they're putting together a show. It's all about the entertainment value.
Right.
So those guys are all actors, if you will, in a reality show, which is a fishing tournament.
Yes.
Okay? Yet they have paid to be part of that instead of being paid. And I've often wondered, when they win an event, is there a payday for that? Is there a payout schedule?
Yeah, that's what I was talking about.
Yeah,
Do you win anything other than the cup, the trophy?
Yeah.
And the other thing about Major League that I want to ask you is, if you'll notice, the anglers rarely tell you what bait they're fishing.
Really? Yeah. Yeah.
They never show a bait.
And there's never a spotlight. They never zoom in
They will
on.
try to cast where you can't see it. And I'm wondering if this is not a place, a proving ground where they're using new baits, prototypes that they're actually fishing with in other tournaments that have not become on the market or become so popular that everybody's fishing them.
You know what? You did a tournament like this. I got to be one of your marshals. You did a tournament like this. Was it last year or year before?
On Cross Lake?
No, the one you did.
Oh, the Major League up on Eagle Lake.
On Eagle Lake, yeah,
2 years ago.
That was so cool, the way that was all set up, and what the guys had to do in order to try to put things together as quickly as possible.
Yeah.
And you notice that, some guys just are quicker at figuring things out. Do you believe, though, that there's still a huge amount of luck involved in that?
Not in the second and third day, no.
Well, I'm talking about, you're in one day's competition.
Not in the second or third year of your tournament fishing either.
Really?
Anybody can have luck.
Yeah.
There's the guys that are on top all the time. They don't depend on it.
Yeah.
And they're the guys, and I've always said that fishing is 95% mental. And you can fish all you want to. You can spend so much time on the water, and you can improve yourself.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're not born great, you're not going to become a great fisherman.
Good point.
I just don't believe that. It's
And it
just
doesn't
all
mean that
how
you
think.
It doesn't mean that you're not a great caster,
right? Yeah.
Or that that you have a real good. One of the things that I've always felt like is that certain guys just have this intuition. Just because I got a text from him from Jeff Pate a second ago. Jeff can look at a cypress tree, and he knows whether or not that fish should hold I mean, that tree should hold a fish. And I talked to a lot of guys who say, I had to throw at that tree 15 times before that fish bit. Mm-hmm. How often are you so convinced that on a cypress lake that there is a fish on that tree that you would sit there and fish it 15 times? My brother-in-law, Mike Craig, when he fishes like up James Bayou, there's certain trees, and he will circle that tree 3 times before he'll leave it. What kind of confidence have you got to have in that tree to be able to waste that kind of time on one tree?
That comes from people, and I don't do it. I can't do it. That comes from people that can remember from year to year to year the tree that they caught a fish off of.
Yeah.
And I'm not good at it.
See, we talked to Stuart Toney the other day up on Lake Bistineau, and Stuart said, man, he said, you know, you don't get a whole lot of bites, he says, right now on Bistineau. He says, but you got to throw that jig up there or whatever you're throwing, you got to throw it up there, and you just got to soak it. Yeah. Well, I'm out then. I can't catch them at that point. You know, guys that can do that, that's one of those little nuggets that, you know, where they can excel. And it makes you wonder, but you still got to be able to read that water. And certain guys just can do that. And they can also make that adjustment just so quickly. Van Dam, probably one of the best examples of that. Just can look at that situation. But you know what? One of the things that...
And the other one was Larry Nixon.
Oh, without a doubt.
They made a statement one time that if all the tournaments were like the... and I did one of these on Cross Lake, Megabucks, where you had sectioned off and you were designated to go to this spot and fish for 45 minutes. They said if all the tournaments were like that, Nixon would win 9 out of 10 because nobody could figure it out quicker at that time than him.
What's the leading mistake that you think people make when they approach an area like that? Being convinced, having a preconceived notion that they're going to bite this bait, or I'm going to make them bite this bait, or that they don't stick with that bait?
I don't know the answer to that. I don't know. If you come into a new area, I've always said, and I'm going to contradict myself because I'm not good about taking my own advice, that every day that you fish a tournament, when you should be a practice day.
Oh, without a doubt.
I mean, you should approach every day just like you did the way you caught them 3 days in a row in practice. Willing to, like, I don't really know what they're going to bite. I don't really know exactly where they're going to be. And I'm going to change until I figure it out. Because you did that in practice.
And that's why the team concept works so good. Well, if you've got 2 guys that are willing, you know, one to if there's something that the fish are biting, and somebody else to just be prepared in the event that they do change, you know, then you can do that. One of the things that your brother Claude and I were talking about one day, because he and I fish about the same speed. I'm pretty slow, but I don't stop a whole lot.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not one of those guys put it on 50 and just go. But I don't check up a whole lot. And Claude and I were talking about that. Do you think that most of our area lakes are won by anglers who cover a lot of water or thoroughly cover a little water?
I think that's something that changes from day to day. I don't believe there's something set in stone there.
Okay.
I don't, because it's just there's too many variables.
Yeah.
But I think that right now the people that win day in and day out or finish in the top 10 day in and day out in our area are the people that have figured how to catch fish away from the obvious structure. Because of boat pressure.
Are they fishing areas that they've got to themselves, or are they fishing behind other people?
They're fishing behind other people, and they've just figured out how to catch that fish 10 feet away from a tree, or in the grass 20 feet away from a tree, because the boat pressure is moving these fish on tournament day. And I think the fish know it from 15 minutes before daylight.
If you're fishing Caddo Lake, Bistineau, something along those lines, you know these lakes. You know them like the back of your hand. You know where you're gonna. You know how deep the water is. You know everything about it. Do you turn your electronics off?
I hardly ever turn my electronics on,
Good for you.
ever.
Yeah.
Because,
Do you believe it does spook fish?
well, I accept the fact from people that know way more than I do that it spooks fish. I would probably have never figured that out. But when Glenn Freeman tells you, yes, it spooks fish, there's no sense in me trying to prove him wrong.
Yeah.
Ridiculous.
Yeah.
To me, I don't hardly ever fish over 5 or 6 foot deep. I don't need to know how deep it is.
Amen. We're hooking up and tracking down 11:30. The Tiger.
'Cause I'm a country boy.
Hey, thank you for tuning in. Hooking up and tracking down 11:30 The Tiger. It's Gary McCoy along with the old mud hen, Mike Eccles. Of course, the sad part is that Steve Graff had to leave. But it's for a good reason. It's a good reason. His daughter, Meredith Graff, at 2 o'clock today is going to be named the new head coach, basketball coach. I'm assuming girls. That'd be kind of cool if she was a lady head boys basketball coach. That'd be kind of neat.
Has that ever happened?
I don't know. I'm sure somewhere.
I mean, in college or
I'm sure.
Yeah.
At some point.
Yeah.
But that's not the most important thing around here. Every week, this man sits in his cage and pushes all the right buttons, and you ought to see all the buttons in there in order to make this show
They've
a
got
household
crumbs on
name.
them. They've got crumbs on them from Ruffles.
From Ruffles.
Hey, easy. You can't say that too loud. I'm cleaning in here.
We would not exist without the dynamic abilities of Jay Watley.
Come on, baby.
You hear that music?
You saw I kind of raised it up there.
Is that Stevie Ray?
No, that's country.
Okay. Is it? What is that?
Now that's country.
Oh, that's the song? Okay. Thank you, Jay, for making all of us and this a great show. This segment presented by Daiwa Rods and Reels, Bayou Outdoor Supercenter, Rayburn Country Resort, and Seagar Fishing Line, continuing to lead the way in the fishing industry with both innovation and quality. Seagar Fishing Line is the choice of winning anglers.
We also can't do the show without Jay, but we can't do it without all our sponsors.
Amen.
And one of them is Lake Fork Marina. For over 30 years, Lake Fork Marina has been a full-service resort. It's a great accommodation from full-size hotel rooms to cabins and a scenic RV park overlooking the lake. It's got internet service, a guest laundry, and a great restaurant, Tiffany's, which I have not had the honor of eating there.
Dude, let me tell you what. I'm craving one of Tiffany's big old cheeseburgers. They're as big as your head.
Let's go right now.
I'd go.
I would, too.
I would load up and go right now.
We'll have them for supper. They've got a tackle store with all
Jay
the
doesn't
top
want any.
names.
He's full of Ruffles.
We're
No,
not
I want
bringing him one. We're not bringing him one. Go to lakeforkmarina.com to learn more about the #1 resort on Lake Fork. If you're going to book Johnny, guys, tell him you want to stay there at Lake Fork Marina.
And our United Rentals question of the day: what one aspect of fishing would you say would make you a more successful bass angler? I got to tell a quick story about that. I met Hank Parker for the first time. It's probably been 25 years ago. And David Myatt had just signed on Hank Parker. David had specialty oil back then. David was introducing a new line of synthetic oil. And David's got a beautiful place out there off of Ellerby Road.
Yeah.
And
Fox Creek Farm.
oh my God, what a beautiful pond! And he was there's a big feeder out there, and he was running a video camera or a video of all these bass he had bought at Auburn University, and they were being released into the lake. And I mean, and they were weighing every one of them like 8 pounds, 12 pounds, 10, 11. I mean, all these huge fish being released into the lake. And Hank had gone out fishing, I'm assuming, with David, and I think he caught like 2 over 10 just in the hour that he fished. Well, he came back up there and was one of the most hospitable guys I'd ever been around. And then he gave a little speech. He was being introduced as the new spokesman for the synthetic oil. And he was telling a bunch of guys, he said, listen, he said, if you want to improve your bass fishing 100% in 1 year, there's only one thing you got to do. Quit your job. He said, your wife won't understand it, but she doesn't have her priorities straight anyway. You think about it, though, when you consider if you quit your job and you've made bass fishing your lifeblood, you can't help but get better at it. But if you had a young angler, let's just say one of our young high school anglers,
okay,
you got a 16-year-old boy or girl who's shown a little bit of potential, and they're truly passionate about it, what would you tell that young angler is the biggest thing to work on to make you better?
The most common question that any young angler has for any other angler is how to get sponsors.
Yeah.
And I have figured out, because I made the same mistakes when I thought I could fish,
mm-hmm.
having sponsors does not make you a better fisherman.
Right.
All it does is make you appear to have
a lot of sponsors.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's all it does. Being a better fisherman will get you more sponsors.
Mm-hmm.
But it does not work the other way around.
Mm-hmm.
So going into it, the first thing I would tell somebody, forget about sponsors.
Mm-hmm.
Buy your own baits, buy your own rods and reels.
Mm-hmm.
Quit worrying about getting them free from somebody.
Mm-hmm.
Quit trying to make yourself appear that you're better than you are.
Yeah.
Prove that at the scales.
Yeah.
And then everything else will fall into place. And people in tackle stores hate when I say this. And I've said it in tackle stores talking to people.
Mm-hmm.
You cannot buy success on the shelf.
Wow.
You can't do it.
Right.
Buying, you got 8 rods and reels right there.
Mm-hmm.
That's all you need. You don't. A new rod and reel comes out. You don't need them.
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to catch more fish because you bought a $200 reel and you were fishing with a $150 reel.
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to catch fish because Gary McCoy caught fish on this bait. I've got to have it before I go out there and fish.
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to do it.
What do you think, though, would be something that kid could latch on to? I mean, would it be go home and practice throwing this bait in your swimming pool? Would it be, go out and chart every inch of a lake so that you know that lake backwards and forwards? Would it? I mean, what would you say? This is something that you should work on daily.
Work on presentation. I still think that presentation is 98% of catching a fish, but that's not just can I cast good, can I pitch good.
Mm-hmm.
I still say day in and day out that, and I see this at the scales with tournaments. 10 anglers, the top 10 anglers finishing a tournament, probably caught their fish on at least 5 different baits.
Yeah.
And the ones that caught them on the same bait caught them on 2 different colors.
Yeah. Yeah.
It is not the bait, and day in and day out, it is not a particular color.
Mm-hmm.
It's how you presented that bait to that fish.
And I got
6 foot deep. 6 foot deep. You're throwing give me a bait. Just give me a bait.
Jig.
A jig. You're throwing a jig. Yesterday, you threw that jig in there. The minute it hit the bottom and you moved it one time, you get a bite. And you got 20 bites.
Mm-hmm.
The next day you go back out there, you throw that jig in there, it goes to the bottom, you move it, nothing. You reel it in, you throw it out, let it go to the bottom, you move it one time, you reel it in, and after 2 hours in the same place, you haven't got a bite. What's the first thing you're going to do?
Change colors of jig.
Change colors.
Yeah.
Why? You think they quit eating what they were eating
You're
the day
exactly
before?
right. You're exactly right.
Those fish either moved
Up in the water column,
5
further
feet
out
off
on the
tree on the grass,
Mm-hmm.
or they're suspended on the other side of the tree,
Mm-hmm.
or they're 1 foot under the surface, and you can take and throw that jig 10 feet past that tree and reel it by that jig like a spinnerbait, reel it by that tree like a spinnerbait, and catch the same fish.
Yeah.
It's presentation.
See, and I think that one of the things that that youngsters and even
And you'd think that somebody could talk as much as I do would do better in tournaments.
yeah, no, wait, don't sell yourself short on that. My middle son, I wish he liked to fish. He went fishing up in Arkansas last week, and I mean, really womped up on the buddies that he was with. He just really doesn't care for it. But he's got that one thing that I think makes an incredible angler. He notices everything.
Yeah.
He notices if that fish hit a foot down, he immediately has keyed on that. He notices if that fish was where the shadow met the sun. He notices if that fish was beside a cypress knee. He notices if he's catching them on a boat dock that fish was where the two poles were closest together. He notices every little aspect, and I think that's one of the things that I would try to encourage a youngster is pay real close attention. It's really hard to pay close attention when you're not getting bit.
Oh yeah, yeah.
When you're not getting bit, but all of a sudden there's that fish. And that fish could lead you to another fish if you can replicate, and they're all truly doing what that fish was doing. I think you've got some idiot fish that Graf catches all the time that just are out there by themselves. They're lost. They're wearing their little helmet. God love them. And but he stumbled onto those. But on occasion, that fish is just the first domino in that series that tells you, hey, they're not just in the bushes. They're on this particular kind of bush. They're on the edge, not back in the bush, and they want that line. I mean that bait to be just barely off the bottom there. And I think that a lot of the fish, especially on our cypress tree lakes that have been so influenced by salvinia, I think that the bottom bite dies off at a lot of times because of the amount of vegetation that's down there.
Yeah, it's not the bottom content that it used to be.
See, and I think that's where, well, there's a lot of guys having trouble right now on Bistineau, myself included. But I've noticed that the drawdowns, and there are guys who would probably Ricky Lee would tell me that I was an idiot, and he and Jeff Payton, Eddie Shaw bet. Speaking of that, happy birthday, Eddie Shaw! Tomorrow is his birthday. He's going to be 58 tomorrow.
Holy cow!
Yes, my boy's growing up. Any rate, they would tell me that Bistineau isn't nearly as good now as it once was. But I'm going to tell you that I see different times of the year when Bistineau is better than it ever was, and I think the drawdowns have caused that because you don't have the amount of salvinia that's stacking up when they've drawn it down, and the ground hardens and you get real fresh vegetation. I just wish I knew how to get cockleburrs out of everything you throw now.
Really?
There's cockleburrs all over Bistineau. I mean, I'm talking about in 6 foot of water, you're peeling cockleburrs out of you.
Well, you hit the nail on the head when you said people that can notice something. Here, 8 or 9, 10 years ago, I got the opportunity to fish with, if I had an idol in fishing, it was a guy named Dave Glebe.
Oh,
Dave Glebe came
father
out of
of
California.
flipping.
Well, no, D. Thomas was the father of
Well,
fishing.
yeah, but Dave brought it around here.
Brought it out of California and exposed the nation to it. And I was just infatuated with the art of flipping. And I got the chance to go with, there was a national tournament on Red River that I had been fishing for 5 years at that time. And I got the chance to take Dave Glebe fishing for 3 days. And within 1 hour, Dave Glebe was showing me stuff in front of Old Clark's Marina that I had been by 100 times and I had never noticed.
Wow.
He had that. It's how you think. That's fishing. You've got to think right. If you can think right, then you can catch fish.
That's our United Rentals question of the day today. Sit tight. We got bears in neighborhoods, baby deer, bobcats, all kinds of weird stuff. And we'll hit on some of that here in just a minute. Hooking up and tracking down 1130, the Tiger.
Four-wheel drive and a country boy can survive.
Want to hear something that you missed on today's show? You can tune in Saturday mornings at 6 a.m. here on 1130 The Tiger for more Hooking Up and Tracking Down. This segment presented by Bob Seeley's Big Bass Splash Series, Wildwood Resort at Toledo Bend, Natchitoches Ford, and Bass Cash Bash. Register for the Toledo Bend event going on now through Labor Day. Go to basscashbash.com and sign up today. And remember, don't be that guy. Now back to Gary and the one and only Mike Eccles.
Of course, Steve Graff not here right now. He is he's actually attending, which I'm proud of him for doing that. I mean, his daughter is now a grown woman, and Steve's still very much involved in his kids' lives, and I think that's one of the most important marks that a man can leave is the way he raises his kids and the relationship that he's built with them. And he said, you know what, I love my Hooking Up and Tracking Down show, but regardless, my daughter is being named the head coach at Ruston High School for the girls basketball team, and I'm going to be there.
You got to do that. You never know. You never know when one of your kids is going to win the lottery, and you got to stay in good with them.
My boys remind me all the time, just remember, you be nice to us. We're going to be the ones pick out your old folks' home. So I'm there. Hey, I got to remind you about Commercial Power Equipment. What an incredible company, and it's that time of the year right now where if you're not planning to mow this afternoon, you're planning to mow by this weekend if the rain doesn't get us. And owner Paul Sutherland wants to help you out, get you ready for all that spring yard work. Blowers, trimmers, mowers, they've got it all. In fact, the absolute best mower on the market today, Exmark. Whether you do it professionally or residential usage, Exmark can hook you up. In-house financing available. How about that? They'll take care of you right there. Paul says, hey, we'll look at this, bam, you're done. And whatever you might need, they can help you out. If you want more information, go to mybigmower.com. Again, mybigmower.com, and learn all you need to about commercial power equipment. We mentioned this earlier in the show. Yesterday, police helicopters, news helicopters and everything were zooming in and filming live video footage that they had on Facebook and everything of a bear that was going through and actually terrorizing a New Jersey neighborhood. Now, I'm thinking, you know what? I mean, New Jersey. Who's got bears? I mean, who would think of all the places in the world you'd have a problem with a bear in a New Jersey neighborhood? Unless it was a former football player.
Yeah.
That was going through. But this was a big old black bear. Mm-hmm. And I don't know what ultimately happened to the bear, but I do know that, he was full grown. We have on occasion, and the guys were all talking about it the other day, there's a bobcat hanging around the Walmart in Blanchard. and it's not intimidating anybody, but you're still cognizant of the fact that it's there. That's a wild animal. It can do anything unpredicted. You've got a number of people that we have had right here on this show that say that I don't know if it's the cougar or the mountain lion, but that population is growing, and it's headed this way, especially in the southern Arkansas, eastern Oklahoma borders, that it's coming here via Red River, whatever they figured out, that we're starting to see that. And the bear population is moving westward as well from, the area around Bienville, Tensas, and coming this way.
Enough that they're talking about maybe within another 2 or 3 years we might have a bear season.
I don't think we've ever had a situation where we've had one of the lesser black bear even threaten anybody. I don't think that they're capable of that. But again, you're talking about a wild animal that has the potential. And what I'm seeing is that, as our population grows, we're moving into rural areas, and at first, the wildlife kind of scatters away and it moves off. But then as that area starts to grow and the trees that have been planted and things like that come around, it's offering cover and forage for those animals, and, they're going to come back. You got squirrels and possums and raccoons right there in Broadmoor. You think about you've got more squirrels inside the city limits of Shreveport than you've got probably in a 5-mile radius around it. Oh, I agree.
Yeah.
I saw one of the biggest beavers I ever saw in my life cross, I guess it was Fairfield, right there we used to turn to go to the old Sears there at St. Vincent Mall. I'm a huge beaver. And somebody had stopped, and they didn't know what it was. And they were taking pictures and everything. What is that? What is that? I was like, welcome to Louisiana.
It's a puppy. Pet it.
They're real sweet.
Yeah.
Skunks. I don't know what it is about DeSoto Parish. Maybe it's all the farmland or whatever, but I have never seen a skunk population any greater than you have. And I'm talking about in some of the neighborhoods north of Grand Cane there in the Ranchland Acres area. And I mean just skunks out the wazoo.
I hate it when you get a skunk in your wazoo.
Oh, yeah, well. What do you suggest is the absolute best way to handle that situation? Obviously, maybe you're not in harm's way, but you've got a skunk, or you've got a coyote, or there's a deer that's jumped the fence in your backyard. You got a baby deer that's shown up, orphaned, or whatever the case is. Do you call Louisiana Wildlife and Fisheries? Do you call the sheriff? Who do you call?
You call Wildlife and Fisheries if you think you've got a problem. Biggest thing is that 9 times out of 10, you leave them alone, and they'll take care of themselves. But we have to get involved.
Yes.
They've lived their whole life, and now all of a sudden they need our help. So, and I did see an incident where like a 6-point or an 8-point buck came into the church at Southfield in Uri.
Get out of here!
Yes, sir. Into the church, jumped through a window, got inside the church, made its way up the stairs to the choir loft.
Get out of here!
Running.
This
panicking.
Really happened.
Yes. Jumped off the choir loft and landed on the pews down below it and broke its legs, and it had to be killed.
Holy cow.
And this was, now I've been gone from the fire department 14 years, so this was 16, 17 years ago.
You know what? I remember that. Was that the one that had come up through Bayou Pierre up? Yes, yeah. I remember that. So the biggest thing is just leave them alone. I live a half a mile out of the city limits down Wallace Lake Road, Mayo Road, where we built, and I have deer hunted across the street from my house. We have a tremendous population of skunks on Wallace Lake Road, right in front of Whitaker Construction. You rarely see skunks during the day. Yeah.
I mean, you just don't. And I see them there. not a lot, but once or twice a year I'll see one in a field during the daytime. So that lets you know there's quite a few. We've got a fair amount of resident Canadian geese that come in on the pond behind my house.
How can you encourage them to stay? My uncle gets them on his pond.
Popcorn.
If you feed them, will they keep coming around?
Sure.
Okay.
Sure.
I didn't know if they just are naturally inclined to leave or if they would stay.
These you've got resident migratory geese and ducks. You've got a lot of ducks right now that are. I mean, you go up around Hamels Park and see pairs of mallards in ditches. I'm talking about ditches not as wide as this table. As you're driving down 70th or Urey.
I'll tell you what's taken over my pond. I got home yesterday and they won't leave. I mean, you can walk out there. Yesterday I was weed eating and mowing around the pond. Those Mexican tree ducks.
Fulvous tree duck. Yeah.
That's a beautiful duck.
Yeah. It's really not. It's kind of a drab brown.
Yeah, but I mean, if their beaks.
Neat looking duck.
The orangest beak that you've ever seen.
I was going to Silver Star the other evening.
Yeah.
And as I got off I-20, I was eastbound. As I got off I-20 at the racetrack ramp, just as you got the highest peak of that from the right, which would have been east-south, 4 of them came across in front of me. And like they were headed towards Stockwell.
I'll be done.
And it took me a minute to figure out as they flew right in front of me what they were because I wasn't anticipating.
Well, I'll tell you where those were headed. They were headed over. There's a big pond right there behind the McDonald's and the dollar store. They're at the corner of Bellevue and Highway 80.
Yeah. And
those ducks, I mean, by the hundreds, they just live there. They've taken over that whole pond, and that's why I figured this. These several of them came down there to my house because of the proximity. Now I got a question for you. When the point comes where hogs start coming into some of these new subdivisions and stuff like that, at what point then are we going to? I mean, because then you're talking about something that can truly harm not just you, but especially your young kids. What will have to come about at that time?
You will still have, because there's a subdivision on Cypress Lake up off of Linton Road, where, and I'm talking about tonight, big lots, 8 acre, 2 acre, 3 acre lots on the lake, where a few years ago, me and a friend of mine actually deer hunted in that subdivision. And I'm talking about deer hunting to the fact to where I shot a deer one morning bow hunting, and I had to get down out of the stand. I made a bad shot, and I literally had to get in front of the deer to keep it from running up to where the kids were getting on a school bus.
Holy cow.
That's how populated it was.
Wow.
Half the neighborhood was wanting us arrested. The other half was wanting to furnish us with deer tags to kill more deer because they were eating. They can't plant anything.
Right.
They can't plant anything.
Yeah.
So, the chances of a hog hurting somebody is still slim. I mean, I know they're capable of doing it, but even if it did happen, you will still have this certain percentage of people that want you to trap them in a cushion box, pet them, put a ring around their collar, give them some shots, and take them down the street and turn them loose where they'll mystically disappear and won't cause anybody any problems.
What about snakes?
Cut the heads off every one of them.
Yesterday I had a big old king snake that, like I said, I was down working around the pond. Big old king snake came out of where I just clipped. And I called Julie and my youngest son, and I said, I want y'all to come look at this because this is a king snake. I said, I don't want y'all to fool with this one. And I said, this will kill the other snakes, kills rats and all kinds of stuff. And I said, this is not a poisonous snake. Now, you don't want them to bite you. It'll probably hurt, but nonetheless, this is a good snake. And my youngest son's like, He's like, Daddy, if you're not here and this snake's around, he said, I will kill him. And you have a certain amount of people whose mindset is that the only snake is a dead snake. The only good snake's a dead snake. That's the Mike Eccles.
Well, even if it is a non-poisonous snake, it's still going to cost you the price of your underwear.
Sit tight. We're going to wrap this sucker up here in just a few. We are hooking up and tracking down. 11:30, the Tiger. Yeah.
The Hook It Up and Tracking Down Show thanks you for tuning us in today. This segment presented by Nichols Department Stores, Sproul Lures, Kamigatu Hooks, and the CCA of Louisiana, making sure our coast and waterways statewide are protected and preserved for years to come. One more time, here's Gary McCoy and Mike Eccles.
Here's your Daiwa Samurai Braid Best Times to Fish. This Friday is rated as very good and very good for Saturday and Sunday. That's good because we got the boss tournament Saturday. As we head into the post-spawn period of the fishing season, the moon will be on the decrease from 85 to 70% by Sunday night. There's a 40% chance of rain on Friday and Saturday with a clear skies expected by Sunday. Temperatures this weekend.
That's been updated.
Oh, yes.
90% chance Friday, and I want to say it's down to a 60% chance on Saturday.
Well, just wait an hour. There's a 40% chance of rain on Friday, blah, blah, blah. The temperatures this weekend will range from the mid-50s to the upper 80s, finally getting springtime. Best times will be late afternoon. Friday, 3:37 to 6:12 p.m. Sunrise will be 6:25. Sunset will be 7:58. Saturday, best time to fish, 4:25 to 7:25 p.m. Sunrise at 6:24. Sunset 7:59. And two things. First off, Samurai Braid. Have you been throwing it?
Oh, love it.
Awesome. And I'm not saying that because
love it.
Steve gave us some. It's one of the biggest problems with braid, it really does hold up great, but it fades. And
the color does not fade on those.
And Steve, being in the, he calls it thread business all his life, selling clothes and apparel, he was able to explain that. Most braid is woven or wrapped or whatever, and then it's colored. Samurai Braid is all the strands
are dyed
separate, and then it's wrapped.
Yeah.
So you just don't have a outer coating of dye.
If you're throwing a reel with braid on it, how often would you change that braid out? And I know you can turn it around, you can take it all off and put it back on there in the opposite direction. But how often would you change that out?
I've got I use filler on all my rods.
Sure.
I put old line of some sort, and then I tie the good line on there, and I walk out from my garage where the nose of my boat is to the street, and I cut the line, and that's how much I put on there. That's exceeded a long cast. But by the time I tie knots for 3 or 4 fishing trip and cut it off, especially the knots you have to tie with fluorocarbon, it takes a big loop, and you got a lot of waste.
Right.
Every 3 or 4 weeks, I've got down to where I'm throwing the knot out.
Yeah.
It makes me change line. If I was just going to take Samurai Braid and put it on a reel, and I was not going to get down past the knot, I would fish all year long with that braid.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Easy.
I'm
Easy.
wondering if somebody's ever fished, 2 or 3 years. And I'm talking about somebody that regularly fishes. If they've been able to pull that off, especially like on a frog rod or something that you don't fish all year long. It's in the box, but probably you're not going to pick it up until, April, May, somewhere along in there, and then you'll fish, through the summer months. How often somebody would do that. Couple of articles on our website, HUTDshow.com, that you want to check out. 10 myths on whitetail deer movement.
And we went over 5 of them the other day.
Yeah, you're going to really, really, really learn a lot from that article, especially when you consider weather conditions, and you consider pressure, and you consider terrain. You consider those things. I'm telling you, it's worth your read. Also, an article on there about the powerful opposition that has killed the public access reform in Louisiana. Huge issue right now in the state of Louisiana in regards to public access. And you know what? When you look at it from just the outside looking in, it's like, well, if you can get there by boat, it ought to be public water. But then there's areas that weren't public water. Somebody paid hard-earned money for that, and through erosion or a river changing directions,
it was inundated.
Right. Yeah. It all of a sudden it flooded, and the land that they bought and paid for is now underwater. Should that indeed be public water? And if it should, shouldn't the landowner who lost his investment, shouldn't they be reimbursed by state funds?
Well, sure. Sure.
I agree.
Yeah, I mean, there's two sides to everything, and should that area become public water? If I'm the landowner, and that's been in my family forever, and we paid taxes on it, and all of a sudden there's access to the general public in there, I'm saying no, I don't want it. We bought and paid for that. The state should have done something to stop this erosion. If I'm the guy saying, I've always wanted to hunt that little pothole back there, and now I can get to it in a boat. Yeah, it ought to be public water.
Well, there's the person who owns it might be listening right now. There is a place on Bistineau, on the north end of Bistineau.
Ooh, I'm glad you said that.
You know what I'm talking about?
No, but I need to say something. Go ahead.
There is a place on the north end of Bistineau where it looks to me like that they just took a little portion of the lake and they built a levee there and created their own little pond. Now, it might have been that was their land, but then, they dug out a the and they built a levee around it, but the water that's coming into it is
and the fish
are Lake Bistineau property.
Yeah.
And I've often wondered, how did that person do that legally? And B, what if someone challenged that, because they've got it roped off where you can't go into there? And it's not that I want to go.
The areas like between two piers where somebody will put a chain link fence up.
Yeah. Is that right?
No, it's not right. Absolutely not. You're not even dealing with a questionable area when all of a sudden you cut off access to what is public water. No doubt about it. No, you shouldn't be.
There is a huge issue right now on the Toledo Bend Facebook page about that. A particular boathouse that was out in the water by Pendleton Bridge. Apparently, an older man came out and cursed somebody because they were fishing his pier.
Been there.
And it's like, and certain boathouses, they say, have motion detectors on them, and when you get up close to them, there's sprinkler systems, and it will literally flood, like fire sprinklers that will literally flood you when you get up there close to fish that.
I would put on my rain suit and stay there for an hour.
That's pretty much what everybody said on the. That might be something that we need to bring up is public accessibility, not only on our website but on the show.
That brought me this weekend. Well, tomorrow night the Landers Ram Cash Splash on Cross Lake. It'll be our 4th tournament this year. Be out there at 4:15 to sign up. We'll start fishing at 6:15, and I'll get the stop fishing times by tomorrow. $55 entry fee. Youth division, three teams fishing with somebody 16 years or younger. The youth will receive a check, cash actually. Then Saturday, the boss tournament down on Lake Bistineau. The tournament is scheduled out of Grice's down at Spillway. I did that because at the time the state park was not open. I found out now that state park is open. It would be a better place to have it. There's no way in the world I could make sure everybody that wants to fish and is on the water headed to the weigh-in would find out that I've changed it.
Gotcha.
So
you got to stay where you
do
were.
it. Yeah, it's in print. We're going to stay there.
So weigh-in is at the old Rick's at Grice's.
Yes.
Okay.
Parking there, yes, is limited. I'm hopeful most of the boats will come to weigh in by water. There's plenty of places to tie up. Start fishing time is 5:57. First cast 5:57. Stop at 3 o'clock. You got to be checked in the bag line by 3:30. Here's a question that came up today. Maybe I'm wrong for not addressing it sooner, but this is the way it is. You cannot fish north of the Doyline Bridge. You cannot fish any of the bar pits that are south of the bridge.
Yeah, you've always bar pits.
That's the way it's always been.
Right.
And a gentleman called me today and said, well, and he was right. He said, well, I heard from this politician to that politician that they weren't enforcing that. I can't help it.
Right.
It's an issue.
It's still private water.
Yes, and just there's people going into the bar pits, just like there's people going into coulees on Red River. As a tournament director, you still cannot allow people to go in there because it doesn't take but one person getting a ticket, and then I'm wrong for letting them fish in there.
Sure.
Then I'm wrong for not disqualifying them.
Yeah. Okay, so you cannot fish north of the Doyline Bridge.
Right.
And you cannot fish the bar pits at all, period.
Yes.
Doesn't matter if they're north or south.
Right. And for the anglers out there that may have practiced in the bar pit and said, well, that's not in the rules, everybody knows that the bar pits are an issue. They know they are. It is your obligation to find out when you're in questionable area. It's your obligation to find out if where you want to fish is legal waters or not. There's no way that a tournament director can address all the issues, and I'm quoting Trip Weldon on this. When he told an angler at a meeting here,
former weighmaster for BASS,
Stevens Lake down at Coshada, and this angler practiced in there. And then the night before the tournament, when he said, coolies is off limits, barge turnaround off, and Stevens Lake down at Coshada, this angler stood up and started raising cane. Well, you didn't tell us that before we practiced. He said, it's not my job to hunt you down and tell you where you can fish. It's your job to find out. That was his ruling on it. And now that I'm in kind of that position, I understand where he come from.
Is there going to be a handicap on this one? I mean, you're going to spot us 4 or 5 pounds for Saturday?
I always say I'm not cheap, but I can be bought.
It's time for us to start wrapping this thing up. So, Eccles, if you will, we need the final word, sir.
With all the turmoil and the unrest going on in the world, especially in our country, it's hard to maintain a positive attitude. With our political parties more worried about votes than they are doing what's right for our country, with the constant disrespect for our military, our leaders, and our flag, it's hard to have a good attitude about mankind. But last week we attended a function to honor a lost friend. The generosity of the donors, the love of, and the appreciation from all that attended helped me believe that no matter what, there are still a lot of good people left in this country. And we at Hooking Up and Tracking Down are privileged and honored to be associated with a big part of them. From Gary, Steve, Jay, and myself, we'll see you next week on Hooking Up and Tracking Down.
Play on a Mississippi flyway. Yeah, that's the way we're raised, thank God. No sky busting, I can hear them coming. Boys, we about to dust them. They coming in.